Howdy champs, my name is Mohit and people, today I'm going to show you how to make in Flash Professional with the help of ActionScript 3 an XML based quiz. All the questions and the answers for the quiz are lying externally in an XML file, and they're being pulled inside Flash with the help of ActionScript 3. So the good news is XML inclusion into Flash. And before I explain the XML as well as the ActionScript, let me first show you a published preview by hitting Control Enter. Okay, so people, we have 3 questions out here, and you get 10 seconds to answer every question. So what does Adobe Flash do? Create 2D animation, submit the answer. What does Dreamweaver do? Write help HTML CSS for us, obviously. Submit the answer. And what does Fireworks do? Doesn't help in creating crackers obviously, but helps us create designs and logos, and the score is 30 of 30. Okay, so all the questions and the answers, as I said, were lying externally in an XML file. We will first discuss the XML before we jump inside Flash and have a look at the ActionScript. Okay, so a very small mini file, quiz.xml. Okay, let me also show you my folder where all the assets are located. So this is the quiz.xml file, this is quiz.fla file, and this is the resulting quiz.swift. Okay, so right, so you see the data is being pulled from this XML document inside Flash, and the result is this quiz file. Okay, so let's examine the XML file. We have an opening quiz tag, which also means that we should have a closing quiz tag. For people who are new to XML, let me tell them that in XML you are allowed to have your own custom tags. That is the reason I'm using a quiz tag opening and a closing out here. Similarly, I have an opening question tag, a closing question tag. This is the question, what does Adobe Flash do? And these are the options A1, A2, A3 and A4. So these are different attributes which pose as answers. Okay, only one is correct. And this is another question opening tag. This is the closing tag. This is the second question, what does Dreamweaver do? And does it help us dream and sleep well? Obviously not, but it does help us write HTML CSS. Okay, and this is the third question, opening question tag, closing question tag, answers in the form of attributes, and this is the question, what does Fireworks do? Okay, so this is the data that XML helps us to get inside Flash through ActionScript. Okay, which means now that we should discuss the Flash stage, the Flash timeline, and the and obviously the ActionScript. Okay, so have a look out here. The stage is of the size 550 by 412 px. Okay, and I've used a background image. This is the one. Okay, just the aesthetics, people, just the decoration. There is no compulsion for you to do so. I just thought it looks cool, so just a background which is there on frame 1, 2, 3 and 4. We also have a countdown timer, which is this field, which is also present on the first, second, the third and the fourth frame. Okay, the good news is, people, this Flash file along with the XML bundled together in a zipped format will be available as a free download from my website, http://qualitylessons.net/downloads. Cool. Okay, then we have the topmost layer as the AS3 layer. On each and every layer we have some ActionScript. Okay, and the second layer from the top is the quiz assets layer, which contains the radio buttons, the you see it contains the classic dynamic text field on frame 1, which has an instance name of QN1, question 1. These are radio buttons. Okay, where did I get the radio buttons from? Well, it's pretty easy. All you need to do is just click on the components and pull out the radio button component from here. So you can pull out 4 such radio button components, right? And then once you do that, the labels will be provided by the action script, which we'll discuss in a while. Now this is a button, the instance name for which is btn, and I again got it from the components panel from here. So just pull it out from here and then give it your own instance name. So now this is again a classic and a dynamic text field, dynamic because it's ever changing. Okay, and I've given it an instance name of timer, right, and it's present on all the 4 frames, right? Okay, this is classic and dynamic, has an instance name of QN1. Okay, right. So people, this is the arrangement on frame number 1. Okay, let's dive inside the actions panel and see how the action script was written. Okay, I'm not going to rewrite the action script simply because it's painful, it's lengthy, it's cumbersome, and probably I don't have the stamina to do so, because if it were just 4 or 5 lines I'm okay, but I'm pretty lazy, once I have to do all the hard work all over again. Okay, so lines 1 through 5 are the import directives. So basically I'm just pulling in all the requisite classes required. Okay, line number 7 says stop, parenthesis, parenthesis, semicolon. So that'll stop the playhead advancing from the 1st to the 2nd to the 3rd frame. So it'll stay put on the very 1st frame. Cool. Line number 10 declares a variable score, and we reset it equal to 0. So obviously there's a scoring system, and up front I would want the score to be 0. Okay, right. Okay guys, also let me tell you, let me show you a published preview once again by hitting Control Enter. Okay, what if the user does not interact with the the quiz at all? Let's say he's just pondering too long. You just get 10 seconds per question, and he's pondering too long. The time runs out for the first question, and he's taken immediately to the second one. Again he has 10 seconds. Let's say he again does not interact, and he's taken to the 3rd question, and let's say he doesn't interact again. Okay, one of the 4 questions is pre-selected, which may or may not be right, people, but unless and until he hits the submit answer button, he'll not get any score for that, even though the option might have been correct. So you can see clearly out here that the score was 0 because he simply did not interact with the quiz at all. Okay, so let's get back to the action script. Okay, on frame number 1, right. Okay, so upfront the variable score is 0, and I'm declaring a variable myXML that's going to hold the XML data. So I've just put the data type out here without actually putting in any value, which I'll do so a little later. Now in the following few lines I've used the standard procedure for pulling up the XML file. So you declare a variable myLoader or any other name of your choice, but you data type it to URL loader class. Okay, make it equal to a new URL loader, so basically creating a new instance of the URL loader class. So that class is used to pull up binary data like an XML data. Okay, then we use the load method, and inside myLoader we load the external asset, which is quiz.xml in our example. Okay, so I'm requesting for quiz.xml, and then I'm adding an event listener to the myLoader, the variable myLoader, and once the loading is complete, so complete event out here. Okay, looking for a completion of the loading, and once that happens I would want a function process XML to fire, and let's see what exactly happens then. Then the variable that I declared earlier, myXML, we make it equal to event.target.data. Now event.target is the quiz.xml, the data is data inside it, okay, and here we data type it to XML. So whatever is inside the XML file, we actually push it inside a variable my XML. Standard procedure, people. Okay, and then I change the text of QN1. Now QN1 is this classic dynamic text field, and I make it equal to my XML dot question 0, which means, let me open up the XML file. It means question at 0 is the first question. Question at index number 0 of the XML file is this. Okay, so basically I'm referencing this bit. So I would want the question to show up inside here. Okay, next what I'm saying is I would want the answer dot label, answer 1 dot label, answer 2 dot label, answer 3 dot label, and answer 4 dot label respectively to be equal to the XML data dot question 0th question, basically question at index number 0, which is the first question, and the attribute A1, A2, A3, A4. So these labels, so basically this is ANS1, answer 1, ANS2, answer 2, answer 3, answer 4. So these are radio button components, which obviously I got from here, which is here. Okay, I would want the label to be made equal to A1, A2, A3 and A4, which are different answer options for the question. Okay, so pretty easy, isn't it? Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So in a nutshell, what I've done is I filled the question and I filled the answers which correspond to that question using XML. Right, this is 0th position. Cool. So the 0th question node, which is the first question of my XML variable, which contains the XML data. Pretty straightforward. Okay, next up, people, what I've done is I've added an event listener to the button, this button, which again I got from components panel, this button. Okay, and when somebody clicks on the button, I would want a function click handler to fire, which resets the timer and starts it again. Okay, we'll discuss the timer a little later, but what it also does is it checks. So there's an if conditional out here. If the if ans.selected is equal to true, which means if the user actually selects this option, which is ans1, which is the right answer. Okay, so if he or she selects the first answer to the question, which is the correct answer for that question, if it is true, then I would want the variable score to increment by 10 and to go to the next frame. But if that is not, if let's say he selects ANS2, 3 or 4, if that is selected, so this condition doesn't become true, in which case if he selects the wrong answer, then I would want just to go to the next frame without incrementing the score by 10. Alright, and in the end, people, we have a timer that fires every 1000 milliseconds, which is equal to 1 second. And let's see what the timer does. That timer displays in the timer text field. This is the timer text field which is present on all the 4 frames. You see the instance name is timer, and it in the timer text field, through the text property, I display 10 minus my timer.current count plus seconds remain. So what is my timer.current count? When the timer fires for the first time, the current count is 1, then it becomes 2, 3, 4. So 10 minus 1 is 9, then 8, then 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, plus seconds remain. So I'm allowing the user 10 seconds per question. Okay, we have an if conditional out here which says if my timer.current count modulo operator 10 is equal to 0, which means if you divide my timer.current count by 10 and if the remainder is 0, now that will happen when the current count becomes equal to 10 or 20 or 30. So every time that condition becomes true, I would want my timer to be reset, and then I would want the timer to start all over again. Okay, so the same happened out here. Every time the button was clicked, the timer was reset, and the timer had to start again. So the reset method and the basically the restart. Start is as good as restart out here. Okay, so that is why whenever a question is complete or whenever 10 seconds elapse, the timer is reset only to restart again through line number 52, and obviously go to the next frame, so which will tackle the next question of the quiz. Okay, and every time you create a timer, you need to start it through the start method. Cool. So that is the code that is available on frame number 1. Again, people, since it's a lot of code to write, the good news, I've already given it to you, is that you can fetch the FLA file, the XML file, bundled together in a zipped format from my website qualitylessons.net/downloads. Okay, now let's discuss frame number 2 and also the action script involved. Cool. So I'm on frame number 2 now. Things are just the same. We have a text field out here, classic dynamic, but this time the instance name is QN2 for question 2. We again have radio buttons, but this time you can see clearly out here that the instance names are ANS5, ANS6, ANS7, and ANS8, corresponding to answer 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, we have yet another submit answer button, which again we can pull from the components panel. Has an instance name of btn1. In the earlier frame, the instance name was btn. Okay, and this is the countdown timer text field, which has an instance name of timer. Okay, so pretty much the same arrangement, people. Let's discuss the script inside frame 2. Okay, this is a lot shorter than the first one. That's good. Cool. Okay, so no need to trace the score, actually. You can get rid of it. Right, so here for the second question, I'm pulling up the data from the XML file, which corresponds to my XML question at the first index, which is actually, I'm referencing question at the first index, which is the second question. Actually, this is the question. So what does Dreamweaver do? This is the data that I'm pushing inside here. Right, so through this code, so fetching the XML data, fetching the question at index 1, which is question 2, and pushing it inside the QN2 text field. Okay, now the labels for answer 5, answer 6, 7, 8, I made it equal to question 1 dot at the rate A1 dot at the rate A2, A3, and A4, which actually reference, let me tell you, give me a sec, which actually reference the A1 attribute, A2 attribute, A3 attribute, and A4 attribute of the second question. So pulling this information, this information, this, and this information from the XML file. So that is the way you write it in XML. Okay, so question 2, A3 attribute, A2 attribute, A1 attribute, A4 attribute, etc., etc. Okay, now I've added an event listener to btn1, which is this button, and what that does is, when somebody clicks on the button, we want a function click handler to fire, which resets the timer, starts it all over again, and it also checks if answer 6 is selected, because that is the correct answer. So this is answer 5 and this is answer 6. If this one is selected, which as I said is the right answer, then I would want the score to increment by 10 and move on to the next frame. If that is not selected but any other option is selected, then I would simply want to move on to the next frame and stop without actually troubling the score variable. Right, that's all that we have on frame 2. Let's discuss frame number 3 and the code as well. Don't need to trace out anything. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, cool. Right, so save. Okay, a sec. Right. So this is frame 3, people. More or less the same arrangement, the same text field, QN3 this time, the same radio buttons with the instance names of ANS 10, 11, 12 and 13. Sorry, that's 9, that's 10, that's 11 and that's 12. ANS 10, 11, 12, 9, 10, 11, 12 rather. This submit button has an instance name of BTN2, and this QN3 text field is classic dynamic. Again, this is where the question goes, this is where the answers go. This is the countdown timer. Text field has an instance name of timer, classic and dynamic. Uses the font family of Rima. I've embedded the font by clicking the embed button and choosing the character ranges all. Now people, you should know how to embed the font. What is the use of embedding the font? I'm assuming that you know that much, so I'm not going into the detail of embedding the font. Okay, so this is where the question will go. This is where the several options are. Okay, only one is correct, for which you fetch 10 marks. Okay, it's just the way things were on frame 1 and 2. So the script is also similar. Why can't I open the actions panel? Let's press F9 it. Okay. Okay, so I have the code on the third frame in front of us now, right? And so in the text field QN3, I'm pushing in the third question, which is the question at index number 2, which is actually question at index number 2 is this. This is question at index 0, question at index 1. This is question at index 2, which is question number 3, and that is the question. What does fireworks do? So if you have tackled XML earlier, you should know what I'm trying to say out here. Okay, so in the questions field we are pushing in the question, and in the answers fields, the radio buttons, through the label property, I'm actually pushing in the different options A1, A2, A3 and A4 attributes of the same questions, which are this, this, right? So A1, A2, A3 and A4. So I'm pulling up the questions and the answer. I'm pushing it onto the stage into this field, and changing the labels as the answers. Okay, so once I've done that, once that routine is over, I'm adding an event listener to BTN2. So when somebody clicks, we reset the timer only to start it again, and we check if the selected answer is ANS12, which is this one, people, which is the right answer. So if that is the selected option by the user, we give him a thumbs up, we increment the score by 10, and then go to the next frame. Otherwise, if that is not the selected answer, just let's say he selected ANS 10 or 9, so in which case we do not increment the score but simply go to the next frame. Okay, the last frame, and let's see exactly what is there on the last frame. That's pretty simple. We have a total score text field which is going to reflect the score variable. Okay, this is classic and static, which simply gives a message to the user, says your score is. And out here we have a classic dynamic text field which displays the timer. And let's check out the action script out here on the last frame. Very simple. Says the total score. Text field should contain, through the text property, the score variable out of total 30. Okay, so concatenation out here, and we stop the timer. So if the timer is running, which obviously it will be, we stop it out here on the last frame. So since there are no more questions, there's no use for the timer to go on any further. Okay, so people, this is how I've constructed this XML based quiz, right? So the moment you change the questions out there, the change is going to reflect in the Swift file. So pretty easy to edit right? So before I terminate the tutorial, let me show you a published preview once again by hitting Control Enter on my keyboard. And so what does Adobe Flash do? Let's say create 2D animation. Dreamweaver helps us to write HTML, CSS, and Fireworks helps us create designs and logos. Thumbs up. All right, with 7 seconds remaining for the third question. So every question had a 10 seconds time limit, right? So people, I hope you like this XML based quiz where you had a scoring system and yep. So all's well that ends well. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope to see you coming back for more in the new year as well, which is about to follow in a few days. You have a good time, guys. Enjoy the 31st. Bye bye. See you. Which